Hey, Cornbread review off the bat, bro. You might not like my review then, man. Yeah, so all in all, man, I ended up coming up 2.5 out of 5. Two of them things.
Yo.
5 out of 5 cornbreads for the cornbread review. What you think?
Yo, welcome back for another Cornbread movie review, man. I missed y'all. Hopefully y'all missed me. But occasionally, I always do movie reviews, but out of nowhere, randomly. I always do a couple, let's say, TV series or maybe a good documentary that you might need to watch that I feel like, hey, this is one of them ones. And we are here today to talk about that. So before we get into the TV documentary that we're going to talk about today, make sure you like, subscribe, share the video, please. I enjoy all the subscribers. It keeps growing up, but we're trying to get these views up too, and the likes. So I appreciate y'all. But today, this is one of those, it's another request that I got, man. It was a request and I heard it and I'm like, I lived through it, I really was like, I might learn something, I might not. But I'm so glad that I watched this. So today, we're here to talk about Untold. It's Malice in the Palace. That's right. Malice in the Palace. It's on Netflix. It's about an hour and 5 minutes. Quick watch. Very, just like that for a documentary. So very quick watch. This takes place, we're going to go back for a little bit. This takes place November 19th, 2004, man. So I was a senior in high school this day when this happened. I remember where I was when all this thing, when this went down. I lived in, it's a lot of, I'm the oldest of 7 kids, man. So it was a lot of us in this house. So my room was kind of like the extra room, right? It really wasn't supposed to be a room, but it was mine. It was the first time I didn't have to share a room, so I was happy about that, right? So I had a TV, and this is the time where any program that you watch, like one of my favorite show is CSI, right? So any show that you watch, if it say come on at 8, you gotta watch it, right? At 8, or it's gone until you gotta buy the whole series at Best Buy or something like that. So like I said, this is the time where you gotta watch shows and games at the time. There was no on demand or really internet to go back and you could watch highlights all the time. It was either Sports Center or watch it live, basically. So I didn't watch this game live, but when you're watching Sports Center, everything stops. Really, all sports, even your regular scheduled programming stopped when this happened. So it was nothing but this fight for about 6 months straight. I'm talking about even with the Super Bowl they talking about it. Now it's in February. The rest of the season, even before they gave the punishment of the players and suspensions and stuff. So I'm trying to take y'all back to this time that this event changed everything, really, in basketball history. So we're going to get into it, man. So I also want y'all to know that, growing up in Illinois, I was never a Bulls fan. I didn't like the Bears. I didn't like any. If y'all know me, man, I like teams that nobody else likes, or that it's a small fan base, because I want to be that underdog, right? I want to fight and be with somebody from the bottom, because it's easy to root for teams that are always winning. Growing up in the 90s in Illinois, man, come on, bro. It's Bulls all day. So I really didn't like that. So I had to choose teams that were more the Bulls' rivals. So watching the Pacers growing up, I used to root for Reggie Miller all the time, man. and my mom liked Shaq, so I like Shaq too. So shout out to moms. So watching the Pacers as time went on, I've always liked them, especially being a Colts fan, as you can see behind me. I always kept my ear to the street on how the Pacers are doing. And the Pacers had a solid team, man. Good team. And so after losing to the Pistons, who had a phenomenal team, I knew that this was going to be a tough, gritty, this is when basketball was basketball. Y'all could punch, swing, as long as there wasn't no blood. Even if it was, you get thrown out, but it's no suspension. So this is the time I'm trying to take y'all back to the nostalgia. This is the time where it was go, physicality. You didn't have to look at somebody and they tee you up now. So things were a little bit different back in '04, man. So we'll get into a couple of the key players, man. Let's talk about Jermaine O'Neill first. Jermaine O'Neill, I think he's forgotten. He was such a great player. He didn't do anything when he got drafted to Portland, but when he got traded to the Pacers, great two-way player. They use the saying "stretch four," right? So that's somebody who can step out a little bit on the block, but he would bang too. I mean, he's almost 7 foot, I think, or he's like 6'10", 6'11". So great player, great two-way player. I don't know if he'll be a Hall of Famer because he doesn't have the rings, he doesn't have the top statistics. They didn't win, even consistently win. Kind of like Chris Paul's never won, but he'll be a Hall of Famer. So I don't know if he'll be a Hall of Famer, but I think he's forgotten about in the history books, And so a lot of people who grew up in that era knew, nah, man, Jermaine O'Neal was the real deal. And then another Hall of Famer, which I'm sure he will be, man, is Ron Artest, Meta World Peace. This individual, multiple Defensive Players of the Year, close to having, I think, MVPs. He didn't have any, but I think he was close. I mean, he won a ring with the Lakers and stuff. So I think he will be a Hall of Famer. And very polarizing athlete. Him and Dennis Rodman are two off their rocker. You love them on the court because they're going to give 110%. People don't even want to face them because their intensity is so much, and they're going to hurt you, and they're going to play, and they're just crazy, right? That's the easy category. Put them and say they were crazy. But I think they're loyal. I think they were misunderstood. And the buzzword is mental health nowadays. Ron Artest was going through that back then, So a lot of people didn't understand him. Teammates wouldn't understand him. Just people now, like me being a fan, I didn't understand him. Why is he acting like that? Why he don't want to show up? Like, come on, man, you need to focus on basketball. But to him, basketball was a getaway, but he still had real life. He couldn't get away from his brain, right? So he was a key member in this. And then Ben Wallace, who is a Hall of Famer, man. Multiple Defensive Players of the Year. Again, he got a championship with the team, Detroit Pistons, man. So he was going through some things also this night. I guess apparently he lost a family member. They lay all this stuff out in the documentary, but he lost a family member, so he was really going through some things. And the Pacers was blowing out the Pistons, bro. The Pistons. So the game was almost over. We'll go over, talk about the fight just a little bit. Ron Artest fouls Ben Wallace late in the game. Game's already over. It's garbage time at this point. I don't even know why each of those starters were still in the game because the game was almost over. Ron Artest fouls Ben Wallace pretty hard. It's a get back foul. Come on, man. We ain't playing with that. So it was a get back foul, but Ben Wallace ain't a person you just get back with, bro. So he pushes Ron Artest, and people clear the bench, right? And this is before the rule of nowadays in the NBA. This is one of the games that kind of geared towards this. If you're on the court, you can break up the fight, be in the fight, whatever. You'll get suspended, but it's more, okay, break up the fight, now let's continue playing ball. But the benches, if you step one pinky toe over that line, automatic suspension. Those are the new rules. Back then, benches used to clear out all day, every day, and nothing happened. So that was a rule change. But during this time, the bench is clear, they're pushing and shoving, they're about to fight. Ron Artest goes on the bench. He's like, hey, let me calm down. I guess he says this in the doc. He's in therapy. They told him the 5-second rule. Take 5 seconds and then think about what your next actions will be. So he said he was practicing that in real time. So as they're going on, he stops, lays down on the scores table, which is crazy, but he lays down. A perfect beer is thrown, hits him right on the chest. I don't know. This dude is damn near Patrick Mahomes before when he was a kid, but perfect throw. And we'll talk about who threw it later. So I got some words to say to you. So we'll talk about that. After a fan did assault a player, Ron Artest shoots straight to the fans. Finds who he thinks threw the beer at him, starts swinging on him, fights him. Now the crowd is fighting Ron Artest. Steven Jackson come out of nowhere, starts fighting the fan. Now it's a melee. In the documentary, you see that there's 3 officers for 20,000 people. No cops in sight, no security in sight, no bouncers in sight, nobody there to break this up or especially protect the players, which is another rule that they've changed now. You go to any basketball game, football game, any of that, man, they're stationed now. They're in every stairwell looking at the crowd. They're not even watching the game. They're making sure that no shenanigans happen or nobody runs on the field. So that's another rule change. So as the fight's happening, Ron Artest leaves the crowd. Now he's trying to get out of there. He's trying to go back to the locker room. He comes down to the court. A fan comes out to the court, and Ron Artest squares up with him and jabs him up, beats him up, hits him a couple times, and out of nowhere, you see Black Jesus Jermaine O'Neill insert scene, and he slipped and fell and gave one of the coldest punches to this day I've seen, man. It was nasty, and he slipped and fell, so he didn't fully connect, man. So all that's going on. If you're a millennial like me, man, all those things that I just described are embedded in your brain because you've seen it so much growing up. You know, it's still, I'm sure it's on YouTube, makes classics. Like I said, we're talking about a documentary that shows all this footage. So while all that's happening, nobody's there to break it up. As the fans are leaving, as the players are leaving, you see people throwing popcorn, more beer, Pepsis, pretzels. Somebody picked up a chair and threw that and hit somebody. He didn't even hit a player. So it was an all-out brawl, man. So a lot of people got hurt. Safety was in jeopardy. But we're talking about it to this day. You know, like I said, this happened late 2004. Like I said, I was a senior in high school, man. Come on, that's crazy. So this documentary was great. Even though it's an hour, usually documentaries, let's say 4-part, 5-part series, 10-part series, multiple seasons, but this is only an hour. And I really liked how it was an hour, but they still touched more on, let's say, Jermaine O'Neill upbringing, a little bit about Ron Artest, the trade that happened with Steven Jackson. So they even got Ben Wallace, his input on a couple things. They cut out some things, but I really enjoyed that. So this documentary they interviewed players, media, fans, cops, even refs. Tim Donaghy, bro, what? He reffed that game. If you know who Tim Donaghy is, he was the person that got caught for betting on games that he was reffing. Come on, man. You know, the NBA really doesn't, that's a black eye to them, so they really don't talk about him. But look it up, man. It's crazy. I think he has a book out and everything. So, also, one thing that I forgot about, which I was so glad that they talked about this, introductions to basketball games. Come on, man. I remember going, you didn't want to be there for tip-off. You wanted to be there for the introduction, especially like if you grew up in watching the Bulls, the intro music when they turn dark and then the screen come on, right? And you hear that nostalgic Bulls music. And the introductor was cold. He'd be like, saying at point guard, you got Chauncey Billups. Like, that was so cool to me, man. Billups, Wallace, Prince on there. Hamilton Rip with the mask. Like, come on, man. They had a solid team. They beat the Lakers, so they were a good team. So I'm really glad that they highlighted that because I forgot about, the intros when that happened. Also, let's talk about how the players were vilified. And none of the Pistons were vilified, but all the Pacers starters who fought, even though they were protecting their self and their teammate, they were vilified. This is a problem that goes on today when the word thug is thrown around. These individuals fought for their family, their friends, and their safety, but they're called thugs for doing that. And it's only used when it's black athletes. I'll say that again. It's only used when it's black athletes. When they fight, it's always thugs out there, right? But even in the documentary, and I've said this before, when it's hockey or baseball or even football, I don't hear thugs. I also asked, so I'm going to give you a little story. I talked about this on my podcast, asquaredpodcast.com. Make sure you subscribe. Shameless plug, of course, But it was a fight at a club. Black people fighting. Next weekend, no rap music. They playing maybe top 40, R&B. What else they playing? No rap music at all. So I asked the owner, I'm still waiting to this day for the answer. I said, so no white people fight? He was like, yeah, of course. I said, so if it was country night and it was a fight, would you not play country music? He couldn't answer me. So y'all think about that, man. But it sucks for them because they were taken to court, suspended, lost millions, lost endorsements. Luckily, a couple of them got traded and they won rings after the fact. But they were vilified, and that sucks for them especially for doing something that's right. That I've done plenty of times, fought for my teammates and self-defense, right? So, sucks for them. So I want to use the same thing for those fans who are cowards, who are punks, and who are thugs who fought that night. Shame on them for thinking that they could do that to grown men at a basketball court, just playing the game that they love and assault them like that. So they deserve to get punched out. So I'm going to use the same language for them. Now, like I said, I like how the documentary focused on the players, but also the facts, not opinion, right? They showed everything, which is good to watch. Once again, like I said, this is Malice in the Palace, man. The Palace is dead and gone, but that aroma of a fight and black eye and stench of the negativity is still to this day. I'm sure if the Pistons and Pacers played, they'd be like, man, some announcer will bring it up or some media person will bring it up. So I don't think it's ever going away in history. It changed a lot of things. Now players got to be dress code because they were labeled as thugs on rap music and baggy pants and chains and how they have braids. Now they have to have a dress code, which I don't know how does that make better basketball, or how does that stop people from fighting if they're assaulted, right? So things like that don't make sense, but the NBA changed a lot of rules because of this fight. Now, mob mentality is real, as you can tell from this show or from the documentary. You see people who are probably lawyers, doctors, firefighters, all your essential staff right now. But if they were there, they probably do something, right? I mean, because it's mob mentality. You see somebody doing it, so you're like, yeah, well, I might as well do it now. You know, when if there's money laying around, you might have never stole anything in your life. But if there's $1 million laying around, shit, you know it ain't yours, but you might pick it up, right? So opportunity lends itself, and that happens a lot in crime too. Before I get out of here, I definitely want to make sure that you watch this documentary. Like I said, it's an hour. It's Malice in the Palace. It's Untold. It's my Cornbread review stamp on it, and it's my perspective of how I was back as a kid and to now watching it. So I appreciate getting the suggestion to do this because I was not. But I'm here for y'all. I'm taking all your suggestions. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And right before I get out of here, I want to say John Green is trash. I'm not putting up his picture. If you don't know who Sean Green is, you do your own work and look him up. But I'm not going to give him any more light. But John Green is trash, man. So I'm out of here. I'm here back to next time, man. Make sure you subscribe again. I don't care if you think you did it. Do it again. Turn the notification on. I'll be back again with another Cornbread movie review and, of course, always series or documentaries. Peace.